You've probably heard the old saying, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations, but what if I told you that wasn't just some folksy warning? It's a statistical reality. Studies have shown that 70% of wealthy families lose their wealth by the 2nd generation. By the 3rd generation, it's a staggering 90%. Think about that for a second. 9 out of 10 families who build a fortune will see it all vanish within their own grandchildren's lifetimes. So how do families like the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds seem to break the laws of financial gravity, holding on to their fortunes for a century or more? It's because they're not playing the same game as everyone else. They have a different playbook entirely, one that's not designed for building wealth, but for preserving it. And today, we're unpacking that hidden system to show you exactly how they do it. So, what goes wrong? Before we get to the solutions, we have to understand the problem. How do these massive fortunes, which seem untouchable, just evaporate? It's not always about heirs buying too many sports cars, though that can play a part. The real reasons are more like a great sieve, draining the wealth with each passing generation. The first, and most relentless drain, is taxes. Most financial plans focus on income tax. But for the ultra-wealthy, the bigger monsters are estate and capital gains taxes. When a wealthy individual passes away, the government can step in and take a massive slice of their estate before it ever touches the heir's hands. That one event can slash a fortune. Then, if the heirs decide to sell appreciating assets, like stocks or real estate, they get hit again with capital gains. It's a 1-2 punch that makes sure the family pie gets smaller and smaller. The second problem is family conflict and a total lack of preparation. This is the human element, and it's often way more destructive than taxes. When the person who built the wealth is gone, a power vacuum can open up. Without a clear plan, siblings can turn on each other. Business decisions get frozen by fighting, and what was once a shared family mission dissolves into individual greed. In fact, studies by the Williams Group have identified that a breakdown in communication and trust is the #1 reason for wealth transfer failures. The most famous cautionary tale here is the Vanderbilt family. Cornelius the Commodore. Vanderbilt built a railroad and shipping empire that would be worth hundreds of billions in today's money. He was the richest man in America. And yet, the famous story goes that by 1973, at a family reunion of 120 descendants, there wasn't a single millionaire among them. They built sprawling, multi-million-dollar summer cottages that were barely used but cost a fortune to maintain. They didn't diversify, and most importantly, they raised heirs who were experts at spending money, not preserving it. The Vanderbilt story is a brutal reminder that without a system, money has no loyalty. The third force is the knowledge gap. The financial advice most of us get, work hard, save money, max out your 401k, is a recipe for building a comfortable life. It is not the recipe for preserving a dynasty. The ultra-rich know that keeping wealth for generations requires a totally different mindset and a different set of tools. They play a game of preservation, tax efficiency, and control. This isn't knowledge you pick up from a standard financial advisor, it's a specialized playbook. These 3 forces, taxes, family drama, and a knowledge gap, are what make shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves a reality. But the 10% of families who beat the odds, they don't just hope for the best, they have a system. The first and most important secret is a complete shift in mindset. For most of us, the goal is to own things, a house, a stock portfolio, a business. But for the ultra-wealthy, direct ownership is a liability. The real power is in controlling assets without having your name on the deed. This is the control, don't own philosophy, and its main tool is a legal structure that acts like a fortress for the family's wealth, the Dynasty Trust. A dynasty trust, or a perpetual trust, is an irrevocable legal entity that holds the family's assets for current and future generations. When cash, stocks, real estate, or even entire companies are moved into the trust, they no longer belong to any one person. They belong to the trust. The family members are the beneficiaries who can get money and benefit from the assets based on the rules laid out by the person who created it. This sounds like a small legal detail, but its effects are massive. First, it's like a bulletproof vest against external threats. Say an heir is going through a messy divorce. If they personally own a $20 million stock portfolio, their ex-spouse might be able to claim half. But if that portfolio is inside a dynasty trust, it isn't the heir's personal property. It belongs to the trust and is shielded from the divorce settlement. The same goes for lawsuits or bankruptcy. Creditors can't come after assets in the trust because the beneficiary doesn't legally own them. It's a firewall between the family fortune and the chaos of life. Second, and this is the big one, the dynasty trust is a weapon against the estate tax. Normally, when wealth is passed from parent to child, it gets taxed. When that child passes it to their children, it gets taxed again. This is how fortunes get ground down. A dynasty trust short-circuits this whole process. Since the trust owns the assets forever, they're never technically inherited by a new generation. Instead, as older beneficiaries pass away, the next generation just takes their place. The wealth never leaves the trust, so it never triggers the estate tax. This one strategy allows wealth to compound for centuries, untouched by the tax bite that cripples most fortunes. John D. Rockefeller, patriarch of one of the world's most enduring dynasties, was a master of this. He didn't just leave his fortune to his kids, he put the bulk of it into a series of trusts. That decision is a huge reason why, over a century and 7 generations later, the Rockefeller family fortune is still in the billions. The assets were centralized, protected, and professionally managed, which stopped them from being split up or squandered. The trust is run by a trustee, often a professional firm or a board of trusted advisors, who is legally required to follow the rules of the trust. The creator can get super specific. For example, a payout might be tied to graduating from college, or only be used for things like education or starting a business. This lets the original wealth creator guide their legacy long after they're gone, making sure the money is used for responsible growth, not reckless spending. This is the fortress. It's the core structure that separates a family's legacy from the individual members, creating a protected space where wealth can last for centuries. A fortress is great, but the money inside can't just collect dust. It needs to grow, and the family needs a way to access it without setting off tax bombs. The second secret is building a financial engine designed for tax-free growth and tax-free cash. This involves strategies that are pretty much the opposite of what most of us are taught. The first strategy is simple but powerful. Leverage, don't sell. When most people need cash, they sell an asset, stock, property, and trigger capital gains taxes. The ultra-wealthy almost never sell their core, appreciating assets. Instead, they borrow against them. They'll take their billion-dollar art collection or their massive stock portfolio to a private bank and get a low-interest loan. This gives them millions in cash, tax-free, to live on or invest. Because a loan isn't income, it's not taxed. As long as their assets grow faster than the loan's interest rate, their net worth keeps going up. The loan is often just paid off by the estate when they die. The second part of the engine is a powerful tax rule known as the stepped-up basis. Let's say your grandfather bought land for $100,000 50 years ago, and today it's worth $10 million. If he sold it, he'd owe capital gains tax on a $9.9 million gain. But if he holds onto it until he dies, the stepped-up basis rule kicks in. The IRS resets the cost basis of the asset to its market value on the date of death. For you, the cost basis is now $10 million. You could sell the property the next day for $10 million and pay zero in capital gains tax. That $9.9 million of appreciation is just gone for tax purposes. It's one of the single most powerful wealth transfer tools in the U.S. tax code. For real estate, this is often paired with another tool, the 1031 exchange. Section 1031 of the IRS code lets a real estate investor sell a property and defer all capital gains taxes as long as they roll the proceeds into a new, similar property within a certain time. Wealthy families use this to trade up over and over. They might sell a small apartment building and use a 1031 exchange to buy a bigger one. Then they sell that and buy a small shopping center, and so on. Each time, they're kicking the tax can down the road, letting 100% of their equity grow. Paired with the stepped-up basis at death, this means generations of tax-deferred growth can ultimately become completely tax-free. Finally, there's the most counterintuitive tool of all, strategic life insurance. Most people see life insurance as a small policy for funeral costs. For the wealthy, it's a souped-up, tax-advantaged financial vehicle. We're talking about permanent life insurance policies with death benefits in the tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars. Here's how it works. The premiums build up a cash value that grows tax-deferred. The family can borrow against this cash value. Again, tax-free. But the real magic happens at the end. When the person dies, the massive death benefit is paid out to their heirs, completely free of both income and estate taxes. This provides a huge, instant flood of cash. That money can be used to pay off any remaining estate taxes without having to have a fire sale of the family's main assets, like a business or real estate. It's a way to refill the bank and make sure the estate is passed on whole. The fortress and the financial engine are brilliant structures, but they're useless without the most important part, the people. The biggest risk to generational wealth isn't a market crash, it's an unprepared and divided family. The third secret is all about managing the family's human and intellectual capital. It's about creating a rule book that governs the family itself. This rule book has 3 parts. The first is a professional management structure called a family office. A family office isn't just one advisor, it's the private headquarters for the family's entire financial world. For the super rich, this can be a whole company with full-time lawyers, accountants, and investment managers whose only job is to manage the family's assets and trusts. They handle everything. The Rockefeller family's long-running success is often credited to their centralized family office, which has provided professional management for over a century. By professionalizing their wealth, they take the risk of a single clueless heir making a disastrous decision off the table. The second part is the family constitution. This is a document written by the family that acts as its mission statement. It's not always legally binding, but it's a powerful way to keep everyone on the same page and prevent fights. A family constitution might outline the family's core values, a code of conduct and rules for making decisions. It might spell out what it takes for a family member to join the family business or how disputes will be resolved. David Rockefeller Jr. has mentioned that his family holds formal family forums twice a year, where members over 21 gather to discuss the family's direction, reinforcing their shared values. This document is the roadmap that keeps the family united, even as it grows and spreads across the world. The third, and maybe the most important part, is a relentless focus on education and mentoring. Successful families know they aren't just passing down money, they're passing down the responsibility of stewardship. Financial education starts young, teaching kids about budgeting, investing, and what it means to have wealth. Heirs aren't hidden from the family business. They're actively groomed to understand it. They might be required to work outside the family, get advanced degrees, or sit on the boards of family charities to learn the ropes. The goal is to avoid the curse of the third generation, where the heirs get the money but have no connection to the struggle and discipline that built it. By teaching a sense of purpose and providing hands-on experience, these families prepare their kids to be capable guardians of the legacy, not just entitled consumers of it. So, how do the ultra-wealthy keep their money for generations? It's not by getting lucky with stocks. It's not about being smarter than everyone else. It's because they're playing a different game with a different set of rules. They build a fortress around their assets, with the control, don't own, principle, using Dynasty trusts to shield their wealth from taxes, lawsuits, and bad decisions. They engineer a financial engine that runs on tax-free growth and liquidity, using strategies like borrowing against assets and exploiting rules like the stepped-up basis and 1031 exchanges. And most importantly, they create a rulebook for the family itself, a system of professional management, a shared constitution of values, and a culture of education that prepares every generation to be a responsible steward. If you found this look into the playbook of the ultra-rich valuable, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss our next video. We'll be exploring how the wealthy use debt as a powerful tool to get even richer. Sit promings for it, Benguris.